Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Project Egg Show. I'm your host, Ben Gothard, and today we have the honor of speaking with Tim Bratz. How you doing today, Tim?
Good, Ben. Appreciate you having me, dude. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you jumping on. I know you have an extremely busy schedule. See it on that board back there. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, man.
Excited to ask you, what is your story?
I'm a real estate investor. 34 years old, gotten started in real estate when I was going through college, 03 to 07. Everybody's making money, right? That's what motivated a 20-year-old kid back then. And I'm from Cleveland, Ohio originally, graduated from college. My brother was living out in New York, and I decided to move out to New York and become a real estate agent. I thought that's how you got involved in real estate. So got my real estate license, went to work for a commercial brokerage firm, and essentially just, I acted as a broker, brokering leases for retail and office tenants. So if there was a business that wanted to expand, I would help that business owner find another location. Or if there was like a retail space or an office space that needed to be marketed by the landlord, I would help market that and bring a business in. And yeah, man, I mean, from a long story short, I saw the first deal I closed was a small 400 square foot space, the size of a couple of bedrooms, like very small. And we signed a lease in Manhattan for $10,000 a month for that space. And I was like, man, I'm on the wrong side of the coin. This guy's going to make almost $2 million, the landlord, over the next 12 years for doing something at one point in time. And I was like, I don't need to be brokering real estate. I need to be owning real estate. And so this is like 07, 08. I moved down to Charleston, South Carolina, just kind of quality of life decision, and got into investing, and kind of went through that analysis paralysis phase where you got to learn everything, and quickly realized I wasn't going to learn how to swim until I actually jump in the water. And that's what I did, man. I found the cheapest house on the MLS and the cheapest house in the entire greater Charleston, South Carolina area. Didn't have money, but I figured it out. I got my credit card limit increased and bought the house actually on my credit card. Did all the work myself, sold it in 75 days, made $14,000, and it was the most money I've ever made up to that point. And I was like, I'm hooked, right? I got to do it again. And this is like 2009, right after the market tanked. And so I've never been in like a good real estate market. This is new to me, that all this good, positivity and stuff is going on. It's always been like a struggle and a difficult real estate market. Everybody's always said run away from real estate. But I knew it worked, right? You see enough successful entrepreneurs and high achievers, they all invest in real estate or made money in real estate. And I knew if I stuck with it long enough, eventually it would pay off. And so, man, I've been through everything: wholesaling real estate, flipping, like the HGTV stuff that you see, turnkey, like buying rental properties, fixing them all up, putting tenants in place, packaging it and selling it to, a white collar professional, open up a management company, built up a portfolio of apartments, and then had a partnership that broke up and had to sell everything, and then built it all up again. Been through a lot of stuff. And over the past like 4 years, a little over 4 years, I've just been kind of doing my own thing, building my team, growing it. And currently I have a little over 3,200 units with another 600 apartments and 650 self-storage units, all closing by the end of this year. So it's cool. We've had a lot of success recently over the past few years, but I promise you, we've been paying our dues and planting a lot of seeds over the past 11 years in order to get where we are today. So it's cool to see the fruits of our labor really paying off. And we're aware of where we are in the market cycle, and we're paying attention to all that stuff. We're very conservative about what we buy, even though we are very ambitious. We're making sure we're doing the right thing and buying good deals, not just properties, right?
So basically, you're an 11-year overnight success.
That's exactly what I am.
That's amazing. I love what you said about planting the seeds, and saying that you were planting seeds for a long time, and now clearly they're starting to pay off. But in the earlier days, when did that really click for you? Of I need to start planting now because it's going to take a while to start harvesting. Like, when did you get in that mindset, and what really triggered that to where you started
Yeah.
planting?
I think it's a great analogy, right? Like the whole planting and reaping what you sow type analogy, and eventually having a harvest. You know, a lot of people think it's you plant and then you harvest. Dude, there's a whole cultivation period and a lot of hard work that goes in until like the harvest is the last 5% of the year. You know what I mean? Like that's last 1%, 2% of the year. There's another 95, 99% of work, of daily diligence that goes into that whole process. And dude, there's some seeds you plant that don't sprout. There's some seeds you plant that get burned up by the sun. There's some seeds you plant that drown in water, right? There's some seeds that get covered in dust and get blown away. Like that happens, but you got to keep planting seeds. You got to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And for me, it was real estate. Like I knew that real estate was eventually work. There were enough. It wasn't a startup, right? It's not some tech company that could be the next Uber, but likely will flop, right? This is something that is time tested and true. And I knew that it would work. I just knew I needed to stick with it. And I just kept planting seeds, dude. And I knew that eventually seeds would sprout. Some might sprout sooner, some might sprout later. But I knew that if I didn't plant seeds, I would never have a harvest. So I needed to just kind of keep my head down, didn't look left, didn't look right, just kept on pushing forward, rolled with the punches, and I got punched a lot. You know, like even though I'm 34, I'm doing it for 11 years. I've been doing high volume for a long time. And so, man, I've been through everything that you could possibly imagine. Tenants burning down my entire building down to the shell. I've been through walking into houses and units with roaches falling on my head from the door jamb. I've walked out of units with fleas all up my jeans, dropped them, threw them away in the parking lot with my shoes and my socks and my jeans, drove home pantsless, right? Thanks God I didn't get stopped or pulled over, right? So, dude, I've been through all of it, man. I've had contractors rip me off. I've had partners rip me off. I've had people stealing. I've had like you literally name it. Lawsuits with tenants, lawsuits with business partners, like everything you could possibly think of, I've been through, which I think is what, sharpens the knife enough, right? Like if you go through that struggle, Rocky, it's not about how hard you're hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Right. It's about how much you can take. And every time you get hit, you get a little bit better. You get a little bit stronger. You know to dodge and weave, and you can dance around a little bit better, and nobody can pull that wool over your eyes. The more experience you have, and the longer you stick with it, and the more experience you gain, the better you get at doing real estate, and the easier it is to do deals, and the more profitable the deals become because everything's planned for, everything's projected for, everything's expected. And so there's no surprises, and that's why you see like this compound effect, like we're talking about, this penny doubling every single day, and like boom, boom, boom. And all of a sudden, at the end of the month is when all that growth occurs, because you have the momentum, you have more profitable deals, because you know how to underwrite them properly and put the right teams in place and people in place and processes in place and all those different things. So it's definitely one of those, dude, you got to spend minimum 10,000 hours, become an expert. Don't be a serial entrepreneur where you're spread across doing a bunch of goofy stuff. When people tell me they're a serial entrepreneur, man, I was a serial entrepreneur, and that's when I was broke, right? Because I wasn't focused on anything. So be focused, like become a ninja at one thing, become the best in your industry, not just an expert, but the authority in that space. And dude, you're going to parlay that into so many different opportunities. People don't want to pay for a general physician to perform heart surgery. They want the best heart surgeon out there, and they're willing to pay big bucks for it because that person's specialized.
So I believe what you're saying is you got that laser focus in your early 20s. Seems like if the math works out, about 23 years old, you got laser focused in on real estate, and you just committed yourself to, no matter what was going to happen, you were just going to stick with it. And it seems like thousands of things did in fact happen that you then learned from and figured out and kept going. And because of that, you're able to specialize in the real estate, focus on that instead of having being so spread thin that at this point, now you've made it through all that stuff. Now you're seeing the different cycles, and because you're so deep into it and you've just stuck with it for so long, now it's gotten easier. You've learned more, the deals get bigger and better, and you have that momentum working for you.
And dude, it wasn't figured out early on, right? I chased the shiny objects. I went and tried other businesses and miserably failed. And then all of a sudden my real estate failed too, because I wasn't focused on anything, right? So then I went back to real estate, and I thought I was focused on real estate, and I'd have a brokerage and a management company and a flipping company, a wholesaling company and a holding company. And then I realized real estate is not a focus. Real estate is an industry, right? Like a focus is B-class workforce housing apartments that are 100 units or bigger, distressed either physically, managerially in the Midwest and the southeastern portions of the United States. That is a focus, right? Versus real estate's my focus. Real estate's not a focus. Again, it's an industry. So, you go through learning lessons, right, man? I've been in real estate for 11 years. I've been owning real estate for 11 years. I've been in it since 2005, actually. I was in construction and brokerage and worked for a home builder and all that kind of stuff. And so I've been in it for almost 15 years. And I'm familiar with the industry. I know it's moving and shaking, but I've only been really good at it for like 2 or 3 years, right? Like I've only been I've been in it for 15 years, but I only got good. I was pretty bad the first 10, 12 years. I got pretty good 3 years ago. And that's where everything kicked in, So, but I wouldn't be good in the past 3 years if I wasn't bad in the first 12.
What in those 12 years did you have to learn specifically in order to then be able to get good?
Oh man. I mean, there's a lot of mindset. I'm big on personal development, mindset, thinking bigger, like all those different things have compounded. And if I said it was one thing, I don't think I could say it's one thing. I think it's a lot of little things that compound and build up. And eventually, Jim Rohn says, success is not something you pursue. It's like a butterfly. You can't catch it. It eludes you, right? It's elusive or whatever. The key is becoming an attractive person. Success is something you attract by the person you become. And so you don't have to work hard on real estate. You got to work hard on you. Working hard in real estate then and reflecting on your successes and reflecting on your failures is working on you too. So you want to work hard on that, but you also want to work hard on yourself. Get yourself in the right mindset. Read books like Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Power of Positive Thinking, Magic of Thinking Big, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Richest Man in Babylon, all those different fundamental personal development books that'll lay a great foundation and just change your psychology. Another one that one of the big keys is adopting a long-term vision. Early on, I was instant gratification. I wanted instant rice and instant pudding and instant whatever. I wanted instant success. That's not the way this world works. You got to plant the seeds. You got to be willing to do the work, and you got to be willing to work hard in order to have that harvest. And so that was a big deal. And then the other one that I would say is finally understanding my worth. Right? I think a lot of people, come out of school or become an entrepreneur and they're like, I got to pay my dues. Right. And they're almost, they're like, I'm not worthy. I got to get educated. And that's true. Like you got to go through some of that stuff, but it's not like somebody else externally is going to anoint you as successful. Right. And I was almost waiting for somebody externally to be like, all right, Tim, it's time for you to make some money. It's, you've earned it, right? You've paid your dues. And it got to a point where I had a little bit of success, and then I had this bad partnership fall apart, and I felt they were trying to suppress me, keep me down, take things away from me. And because I had a little bit of success, it planted the seed of confidence, right, in the back of my head. And I was like, you know what? I don't need them anymore. I can do this on my own. And I don't know if it's a chicken or egg thing, if success comes first and then confidence, or confidence comes first and then success, or you're working on both of them at the same time. But eventually it came to a point where I was like, dude, forget this. I am worthy of this. I drew a line in the sand saying, it's my time. I'm tired of paying my dues. I'm tired of getting punched in the gut. I know I'm worth more than what I'm earning right now, or what my balance sheet might reflect. And like, I'm declaring it. I'm not going to wait for somebody else to say it. I'm going to say it, right? So I am worthy. I broke up that partnership. I went and started my own business. I had relationships, and all of a sudden, man, these things started culminating, and people came out of the woodwork and be like, dude, I have private money that I wanted to invest with you, but I knew you weren't taking it because you were partnered with those guys, or, whatever that looked like. And so for me, like, adopting that worthiness was a big catalyst in my life. I felt like I was, I don't know, maybe suppressed or not worthy early on. And when I finally said, hey, I'm worthy of having success because I know that I can pay it forward, make an impact, and provide value for other people, it was wild the way that the tides kind of turned for me.
Do you think you had to have gone through all the things that you did in order to get to that point? Or could you have from the beginning said, man, I know I'm worth a lot. I know I'm competent. I can do it. Let me just crush it from day one.
I think a lot of the BS out there is people talking from theory, right? I can't talk from theory because I can only talk from practicality. What worked for me, what happened for me, I can give you that. Would I be where I am without going through all those adversities? Probably not. If I could, I just make that declaration earlier. Like I think maybe having the awareness earlier could have shortened and abbreviated that time period for me. I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, you kind of got to go through it. You kind of got to go through the suffering. And when you're at your lowest, they say when you hit rock bottom is a pretty good foundation from which to build. And it's a solid foundation. It's a set foundation. It's rocky, it's sturdy, it's adamant, it's firm, right? And that's the best foundation in order to build something new and something awesome. And if I didn't go through rock bottom, if I wasn't broke 7 years ago and had $25,000 in unsecured debt and $80 total cash to my name, and I was borrowing money to pay my minimum payments on my credit card, and I was paying for gas out of the cup holder coins of my car, like literally paying for gas in coins. How friggin' embarrassing that is. It's terrible, right? If I didn't go through that, would I be as good of a steward of capital as I am today? Would I be as good of being able to take care of other people's money as I can today? I don't know, right? So I don't have any regrets. There's a couple things that maybe I would have done different, and that's probably find a mentor and maybe like a support group or a mastermind group earlier on. I wish I would have done that sooner. I think that would have accelerated pretty quickly my growth track.
I think this is such a fascinating thing to talk about, because I see and I hear all the time people, I mean, they do want to plant today and harvest in the next 45 seconds. And so I always love to ask about, did you really have to go through all that? And almost resoundingly, the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
And, if every successful person is saying that, chances are there's probably some truth to it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably some truth to it. So, I'm curious, though, at this point, it seems like you have done a lot of work. Obviously, you're definitely not in the same place today as you were 15 years ago. But what questions do you still have about yourself now?
It's funny, like your goals change as you reach certain levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think, when I was a kid, I was like, I want to make $1 billion so I can own islands and I can do this and be a billionaire and jet set around. And now it's not. I remember watching something where it's like, after your basic needs are met, you got a roof over your head, you got clothes on your back, you got food in your belly, you got basic safety, elements, and I don't know how much that is, household income, 50 grand, 75 grand, 100 grand a year, whatever that is. Once those basic needs are met, there's no difference in happiness, whether you make 50 grand a year or $50 million a year. And I remember watching a documentary on PBS or something about that. And it was really interesting to me. And it was right as I started making six figures, this is 4 or 5 years ago. And my income has compounded, because of the assets that I invest in and everything. And I remember thinking about that and reflecting on it as I've been through this journey of how true it is, right? I remember thinking, if I could just make $100,000, and then, the impact that I could make was good for my local, myself, my wife, my newborn baby at the time, and then I was like, if I could make more, right? If I could make $400,000, $500,000, like, it's cool. Great. Now I got to be able to buy suites to the Cavs games and give it away to needy families or people who have overcome some really difficult adversities, and not only overcome it, but like paid it forward to other families and started nonprofits and like do cool stuff like that, fund church events and fund like stuff like, boom. Now I don't want to like, my needs are met, right? I got a house in Charleston, South Carolina on the beach. I have a house in Cleveland, Ohio in the summertime. I'm good to go, right? I don't need much more. I'm a blue collar kid from a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio. I don't need much. I got excess. And so now it's not about making more money. It's about making more impact. And it's funny, like when you make more impact, you actually make more money. And so I just posted about this on social media yesterday, I think. And it was like, somebody asked me the other day, a good friend of mine last Thursday, and she said, Tim, why do you keep on working so hard? You got more money than you could possibly spend. We're in a very litigious society, right? You got tenants, you got partners, you got banks, you got all this risk out there. Why are you willing to keep on taking on risk when you don't need to anymore? And my answer to her was, this is like one of my very good friends, was, Christina, it's not about the risk that I'm taking. It's about, I see it as a greater risk of me not knowing what my potential could have been and not being able to inspire other people to reach that than any other risk that I could possibly face. For me, it's more about inspiring people. It's about blazing a trail. It's about showing people what's possible. I want people to be like, if this kid, the son of a cop in suburban Ohio, can build XYZ of a net worth and portfolio, like, I know I can do it. That's a cool testimonial, right? If he can do it, I can do it. And then if I can do it once, I know I can do it again, right? Do it over again. And so for me, I think, dude, when you got an ability to inspire other people, when you have an ability to do some great things and make an impact on the world and give back and pay forward, when you have that ability, I think you have the responsibility to do it. And, whatever talents I've been given and opportunities, I refuse to waste those. I wouldn't be able to sleep with or look at myself in the mirror or reflect back on my life when sitting on my deathbed and say, I wish I would have done more. I wish I could have made a bigger impact. I wish I could have made a bigger ripple effect. Like, that's really what drives me today, of just helping people, like educating them on wealth. Like, I think wealth is an abundant type of thing. Like, it's like sunshine. You getting sunshine, Ben, takes no sunshine away from me, right? So there's an abundance of sunshine. And I think there's an abundance of wealth. I think me sharing wealth building principles and sharing how to buy apartment buildings, there's an abundant amount of it where you don't need like you getting wealth and building wealth and buying apartments doesn't take any away from me. In fact, we'll probably collaborate on deals and build more wealth together by me sharing information with you. And then think about, again, the ripple effect that we can create by giving back and helping and impacting others. So that's the biggest driving factor for me today, is really the impact side of things.
So how do you explore that outer limit of your potential?
I think you just keep pushing, man. I don't know. I think, I mean, to me, I'm always like, what's the next level, right? And not for ego, not for whatever. Again, it's for impact. It's like, how can I build this bigger? How can I inspire more people? How can I make a bigger impact? How can I, so I launched like an education business last year, not because I wanted to, but I get endless messages of people being like, dude, you teach and coach this stuff. And so I put that together and I teach people how to do it. And then I'm like, you know what? They can have success, but like, I'm pretty good at raising private money. Maybe other people can't raise private money. Maybe other people don't have the balance sheet to sponsor a loan. Maybe other people don't have these resources, these connections. Like, what do I need to put in place to set them up for success? And so I just launched an investment fund. It last week or the week before, it finally filed with the SEC. So I got an investment fund. I'm going to be able to fund people's deals and offer mentorship and all that kind of stuff, like as we go along, and help them really hit their stride a little bit sooner. And guess what? They can get into deals that they couldn't have gotten into, and I can get into deals that I couldn't have gotten into. So it's a rising tide that floats all boats, and we all succeed, and now we can do more together. 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. 1 + 1 = 3 in that scenario. And sometimes it even multiplies and equals 8 or 10 or whatever. So yeah, man, I think it's just constantly asking yourself, constantly reflecting, like, what's the next move? What's the next limit? How much can I push this thing? And not being reckless, right? Not being careless. I would never do that. It's being calculated still, but I mean, you think about it. It's the worst thing that could happen. Worst thing that could happen is you're here and you go back to here, 0, right? But guess what? There's a floor there. You can't go below 0. And guess how high it goes? Infinity.
Sure. Yeah.
Limitless. So if I know I can only go this low, but I can go infinitely high, you have an infinitely more number of opportunities by focusing on growth than focusing on scarcity mentality. No, man, I think just pushing the limits, just setting new boundaries. Like, we're sitting here talking as this past weekend, they just broke the marathon record of a 2-hour marathon, right? Wow. You know what happened when they broke the 4-minute mile, whatever it was, 7,500 years ago? Like, nobody thought it was possible. I don't even know when it was. Maybe it was 50 years ago. Nobody thought it was possible. You couldn't run a 4-minute mile. Then one guy did it, and everybody else said, hey, if he can do it, I could do it. And broken record over and over and over and over and over again after that. Like, this guy runs a 1 hour, 59-minute marathon. Guess what? Dude, I'm telling you, you're going to see over and over and over again people breaking that record and doing sub 2-hour marathons now that it's been done once. So, I think it's awesome to blaze the trail and be the person that inspires other people. And that's a big deal for me. And so anything that I can do to do that and do it in a responsible way, then, I'm game for.
I love what you said about blazing that trail, because it would seem like the things that really truly inspire people to get up off the couch or to reignite that fire that they felt before, but it kind of died down, is to show that this is not impossible. Mm-hmm. Like, this is doable. I mean, take Roald Amundsen, for example. That guy was the first guy to discover or to make the trek to the South Pole. And since then, now we know it's possible. Mm-hmm. So it's like, wow, it's not out of the imagination. So now we can take that and then jump even higher and run even faster and mm-hmm. climb to even the next most amazing thing that there is out there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it comes back to one of the basic fundamentals of life is you're either growing or you're dying. So if you're not growing, then guess what? You're going in the other direction. So I'm always pushing to grow.
So what's your dark side?
That's a good question. Fortunately, like, I see this crazy stuff on TV and all, like, I don't know. I was raised by a mom with an education degree as a teacher, and she was a stay-at-home mom. And then my dad was a cop. So I think I've been instilled with some pretty good principles, of law abiding and staying inside the lines and not doing crazy stuff. That's a good question, man. I got to reflect on that. Like what's my, I don't know, maybe that there's no stop, maybe I push too hard. Maybe, I'm pretty good with family though. I'm pretty good. Like I time block. So when I'm home with the kids and I'm home with the wife, I'm not checking the phone. I'm not checking email. I time block every evening. I'm home by 5 o'clock, pretty much every single night, except for like when I'm traveling and stuff. I don't go into work on Mondays or Fridays, and I don't go to work on Saturdays or Sundays. Now, do I answer emails when the kids are napping? Yes. Do I, check the phone and if they're watching a movie or something? Yes. But dude, I time block, and I'm a very present father and husband. And that was something that was probably a dark side to me earlier on. Like about a year and a half ago, I remember, after dinner one night, I'm in my office. My daughter comes up to me. I'm answering a text message and I'm shooting a message out, and my daughter's tugging on my shirt. She said, Daddy, will you come and play with me? And I'm like, yeah, hang on one second, baby. And I go back to texting, and Daddy, come and play with me. She's 2.5, almost 3 years old at the time. And I said, baby, just go play. I'll be right over there in a second. I finish sending my text message. I look at it and I realize not important, not urgent. And then I look at my daughter playing by herself in the playroom, little beautiful 2.5-year-old girl, totally innocent, realizing she comes to daddy for love, for support, for attention, for comfort, for safety. And now, every time I send her away, I'm planting a seed, going back to our seed planting, right? And I'm conditioning her that daddy means disappointment and sad and ignoring and discomfort, and lack of attention. And how long does that go on? How many people do that? Like a lot. I'm fortunate enough where it happened when she was 2.5 and I recognized it. And I remember looking over at her, and I'm like, holy shit, what am I doing? Like, how do I not do this anymore? Right. And so one was like taking my phone, putting it upstairs, putting it in a drawer, not answering it. And then I realized, like looking at my schedule that following week, I was like, I'm time blocking an appointment for a podcast or for an appointment to go grab coffee with somebody, to make a phone call, to whatever. But guess what? There's no time block. There's nothing blocked out on my calendar for my family. I'm doing it for work, but I'm not doing it for my family. And we all say like family's number one, and we're working so hard for our family. But the reality is where you spend your time is the greatest indicator of your true priorities. And a lot of people aren't spending time with their family. And I remember thinking like, I got to do this, right? My business wasn't where I wanted it to be at the time. It wasn't in a space where I could take 3 days a week off, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then be home, by 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock the other days. But what happened was it made me more efficient with my time when I was in the office, because I didn't take coffee meetings anymore. I hopped on a 15-minute phone call. I didn't go in and, hop on a phone call with somebody who wanted to pick my brain. I said, hey, I'm on this awesome podcast. Check out Ben's podcast, right? Like get some of my insight, pick my brain on that. And then if you want some more formal education, come out to my event, And so I got very good at becoming efficient, putting things in place, working with my team and saying, hey, you're responsible for acquisitions. All deal flows coming through you. I don't want to see it until we have an accepted offer. You're responsible. I hired a chief investment officer. You're responsible for all money flow. Any passive investors that come in, I'm going to introduce them to you. I want you to educate them on what we got going on and set them up with the right investment. Make sure that they're taken care of. Operations, hand it off to a COO and just put these right people in place and the right processes in place. Partner up with A players instead of trying to save money on C players and B players, right? It made me more efficient, and I was able to do more deals because I was more efficient. And then people are like, hey, Tim, I want to do more business with you because you value relationships more than making an extra buck. And so deeper relationships, better relationships with private money investors, bringing more capital to my deals. It was just, dude, it's one of those things where you're like, I can't not do it, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. And then all of a sudden it all just works out. It all falls into place, and you just got to have faith that it will. And so that was a dark side for me. And I'm thankful and grateful that we've kind of figured it out. And so, but I don't spend money on crazy stuff. I drive a $20,000 Jeep, I could afford whatever I want. I do like living in nice locations. So I bought a beach house in Charleston. That's important to me. It was one of those things where when I was broke 7 years ago, man, I'd go for a run on the beach every single day, and just, I don't know how I was going to do it. Couldn't even, I'm riding my bike to the beach. I couldn't even afford gas for my car. And I'm like, one of these days I'm going to buy a $4 million house right here, beachfront in Charleston, South Carolina. Dude, you make a declaration. I don't know how the universe works, man. There's a law of attraction or fate or God or universe or nature, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. But I'm telling you, when you make a declaration and you follow through with it, it's amazing what can happen. So, but yeah, man, just trying to pay it forward,
So it seems like when it came to family time, it seems like when you actually prioritize that and you blocked out that time, it forced you to then get better. It forced you to get better at the time you're at work and to get better at delegating, to get better with time management, which then it seems like that improved your business. So by actually focusing on what you did care about, the other things didn't suffer. They actually got better.
Mm-hmm. They actually amplified. They leveled up, right? And all of a sudden my relationships leveled up. My family leveled up. Rising tide, I don't know. All of a sudden everything kind of came into place, And then I was like, maybe I should do this for my health. Maybe I should do this for my mindset. Maybe I should time block 30 minutes a day to listen to a podcast, read a book, read an article, work on my brain. And then another 30, 45 minutes to go and get a workout in. And I'm not the best at it yet, right? I'm still working on some of that stuff, and I'm in big growth mode. And I think, balance is kind of BS. I think harmony is possible though, where you'll always be leading with one or two elements, aspects of your life. It's hard to keep them all even at all times. Maybe your relationship's going to be awesome. Your business is awesome. Your health doesn't have to be neglected though, right? Like you can still work out 4 days a week and stay fit and eat healthy. That doesn't make a difference. Would I like to spend a little bit more personal time, like meditating or taking a walk in the woods and just kind of like doing that kind of stuff? Yeah, I wish I did. I don't do it enough because every time I do, man, guess what? Everything else elevates, and everything else just kind of like gets solved. I'm able to think clearly and figure out solutions to business issues that are, so yeah, it's excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. And so everything else elevated. When you elevate one aspect of your life, all of a sudden you either have time or money or different things where the other elements elevate too.
That's fascinating. It almost seems like life is giving you the clues of like, hey, this thing that is important to you, maybe you should spend a little bit more time there or put more effort or emphasis or mental bandwidth or whatever. And then the other things kind of figure themselves out.
Dude, I'm a big believer in like life whispering to you, right? I've had some bad partnerships and like, dude, just gut feelings, that was kind of weird how they said that. That was weird how they did that. That was weird. The tone in that email, that was weird. Like, and it's just little breadcrumbs, little clues. And then eventually it's just like, dude, pay attention. It slaps you upside the head if you don't, recognize those clues and act on them sooner. And that's probably what happened with my daughter. It probably was a lot of little things. It was probably my wife getting passive aggressive with me because I was checking my phone at the dinner table. It was probably, I don't even know, right? Because I wasn't paying attention to all the other stuff, and I wasn't seeing those little breadcrumbs until my daughter comes up to me, and essentially I look at her playing by herself, and dude, pit in the middle of my stomach of like, what kind of dad am I? You know, I'm supposed to be the guy. I'm supposed to be the man for her, right? She's supposed to look up to him. She's supposed to date guys that reflect her daddy. Is she going to go date some asshole who ignores her, you know, and doesn't treat her well, and she thinks that's what love is because that's how dad treated her? And I was like, not going to happen, you know. I'm not going to let her get into drugs or, you know, sex and all that kind of stuff when she's at that dating age. Like, I need to be the example. And you know, if I didn't go through that adversity, that feeling, would I have time blocked? Would my business be where? Probably not. You know, it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Ben. Like, it just, dude, listen to life's whispers, you know, and you got to go through the adversities. You got to, but I think I think the most unspoken success principle that people do not talk about, that would be unspoken, right, is reflecting and self-awareness. The most successful business owners that I know self-reflect and are very aware, socially aware, personally aware people. And they sit back and they think about situations, and they sit back and they reflect on their thoughts. You know, they have a thought, and then they're disciplined enough to like be like, why did I have that thought? You know, is that something that's rooted in faith or fear? Is that something that's rooted in positivity or negativity? And then they're looking at their life, they're looking at their business, they're looking at their relationships, they're looking at their health, and they know what the destination is, right? And they know where they are. And it's like MapQuest. If you have the destination, you have the starting spot, you know how to create a roadmap in order to get there. And they pay attention to that. And when they reflect more often, you don't go on the detour. You can right the ship and get back on path. The more often you reflect. Now there's a balance of not getting lazy, you know, but once a week you sit down, you look at your annual goals, your monthly goals, and you reflect on that, and you set up what your activities are for the week, what the most important things are, those activities, in order to, you know, move the needle forward towards what your long-term goal is. And then I'm reflecting on a monthly basis, looking at my annual goals, breaking them down on a monthly basis. And then every year between Christmas and New Year's, I sit down, no appointments, no phone calls, no emails, put a vacation responder on, and I just look at my goals for 4 days. And I watch Men Who Built America and get inspired. Like, you know, I was like, oh man, I had ambitious goals. No, I need a monopoly now, you know, but you know, just trying to think and reflect and making sure that I'm on the path that I want to be on. And am I getting better a little bit every single day? And, you know, just reflecting on those things. So social awareness, self-awareness, reflection, dude, can't tell you how powerful it is. It's amazing and incredibly impactful.
Tim, I want to thank you very, very much for sharing this time with me today. It's been very special for me. So I just want to say thank you.
Appreciate that, man.
And I recognize how valuable your time is. So I just have one more question for you, then we'll wrap it on up. But what question should I be asking you that I just wouldn't think to ask?
What question should you be asking me that you wouldn't think to ask? That's a good, man. You got some good questions, buddy. You already asked a lot of good questions, you know, like what's the dark side? How do you push those limits? I tried to give you a lot of the elements that I think have been influential in my life. And man, is there another question? You know, I mean, there's a lot of technical questions. How do you do real estate? How do you find deals? How do you raise money? That's not the stuff that, like, real estate to me is a vehicle, you know. The stuff that we've been talking about, which is not real estate, it's personal development, it's lifestyle, it's mindset. That's the stuff that really drives and you know, feeds my soul, kind of a thing. I don't know, man. You asked a lot of good questions, and that's a good one to close it out with, because you stumped me there. And I usually don't get stumped. I usually have a story for everything. So that's a good one, man. But I'll think on it, and I'll have to get back to you on something.
Sounds good. Well, again, Tim, thank you very, very much for being on the show. I'm very appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, man. I love the conversation. I appreciate you. I appreciate all the value and the content that you put out. And so if there's ever anything I can do for you, man, please, connect with me, and we'll go find a way to make an impact together.
Will do. And thank you to everybody who's watching and listening. I want to thank y'all so much. Y'all rock. Y'all kick ass. So thank y'all. Thank you, Tim. And I'll see all of you on the next episode. Take care now.